Good morning. I'm Ann Dolgin, Dean of Instruction at Thomas Nelson Community College. I'd like to thank Dr. Jean Bridges and members of her screening committee for providing me with an opportunity of telling you about myself as well as explaining why Thomas Nelson Community College is becoming one of the flagship institutions in the state of Virginia.
Good morning. Could you please give us an example of your leadership on campus and tell us how you got others involved?
I arrived on campus in 1989, and one of the first things that I did was to introduce myself to all of the members of the Division of Instruction, faculty, and support staff, either in small groups or large groups. And I wanted to do a needs analysis as to what vision these individuals had. I think it's very important for an individual to listen to what members of that institution have done and what they would like to do, and then integrate your own personal vision with theirs. Well, one of the first things that I found was that there was very little planning that ever took place within the Division of Instruction. With limited fiscal resources, my staff and I got together and focused on three areas that we felt were extremely important: strengthening curriculum, providing better learning opportunities for students within the classroom, and professional development for faculty. As a result of these efforts, three things have been strengthened at the college. First, in the area of program review. For the first time, this college is using external evaluators as well as qualitative means to assess programs. But we added a very strong motivator to this program review technique. Last year, $15,000 was set aside so that the recommendations produced by faculty members within their disciplines could be utilized. In the past, faculty just felt that their program reviews would just be put on the shelves and forgotten. But we take these program reviews out each year, examine the recommendations, and try to implement them. But the fiscal resources that we're using to back up program review has played a significant role of motivation for our faculty. The second area that we looked at was developmental education. The reading faculty informed me that they would like to strengthen the reading program by individualizing instruction. Through a grant with Metropolitan Life Insurance Company, members of our faculty were able to travel to leading institutions across the country to examine their reading programs. This was a very easy program for me to support because of my background in developmental reading. I knew exactly what they were trying to implement, and I worked together with them in order to create a stronger reading program. Currently, in the area of writing, our faculty have courses where skills are being taught in isolation. So the developmental faculty are now working together to try to integrate these skills and look at writing as a whole and making changes in that curriculum. The third aspect is in mathematics. At first, when I arrived here, the mathematics faculty more or less looked at me askance by saying, "We don't need a mathematics laboratory." But now we're even moving into that direction, not just for developmental education, but for the teaching of calculus. I'm very, very proud of the fact that our mathematics faculty have created workshops for our public high school teachers in improving teaching strategies through group learning within the classroom. The third aspect, and the toughest one, was implementing general education across the curriculum. I was surprised to see that faculty did not really know the difference between course syllabi and a course of study, and had difficulties in understanding what course objectives were. So through information, small meetings, through the work of division chairs, we were able to get that message across. In fact, 2 faculty members on release time worked individually with faculty both to identify content course competencies as well as general education course competencies. So our goal within the next 3 years is to implement and sensitize our faculty about implementing 9 general education competencies across the entire curriculum.
Thank you. Would you please give us an example of your leadership in the area of community, and again, tell how you involved others?
As you're quite aware, community colleges during the 1970s grew at a tremendously rapid pace. In fact, one community college opened each week. And so we were quite busy looking at ourselves in an inward fashion. We were so busy designing academic policies, course schedules, that we really did not communicate with our community. Well, the world is really different today, 20 years later. No matter where we live, whether we live in the city, a suburban area, or even a rural area, we're all faced with some social and economic problems. Community colleges really can't stand alone. We have to return to the word community. Colleges have the following choices: either to be followers, leaders, or innovators. And we at Thomas Nelson Community College have chose to be innovators. So we're building the bridges within our community and building partnerships with our public schools. As an example, we're involved with an academic tech program where we're actually restructuring the curriculum in science, mathematics, and English, making that curriculum equivalent to the pre-collegiate curriculum. My role in the community has been to chair the Public Relations Committee at the Virginia Peninsula Chamber of Commerce, where we have designed videos, pamphlets, and even posters within the community. We're trying to educate parents and students to enter that academic tech program because it will give them additional competencies to succeed in our community college.
How important do you think a community-based philosophy is to the community college?
As I pointed out earlier, community colleges can either be a catalyst and a leader. Fiscal resources are quite scarce these days. Community colleges cannot do it alone. By concentrating on a specific common social or economic issue, we can band our resources together, discuss these things with our legislators, and when we need monies for specific programs, all the stakeholders go together as a unit rather than go to the legislature in isolation or on a one-to-one basis. It's important for us to communicate with our legislators on a yearly basis, not just when they meet. So we need to invite them not only to our colleges, but to our community agencies for them to become better acquainted with some of the issues that are there. But they're aware of many of these issues, but we have to offer a problem of how to solve those particular issues. And I think legislators want that from us because many times they know the problem is there, but they don't know how to solve it.
Thank you. Using one of the above examples of your leadership or choosing another stressful or controversial situation, how did you deal with subordinates, your peers, your superiors, and are you satisfied with how you dealt with that situation?
Our college, just as many other colleges in the country, faced the recession. From 1990 to 1993, we had to return 22% of our $14 million budget. Well, as you know, that's quite a situation of maintaining college morale among staff. We heard in September, prior to the legislature meeting, that we might have to return in the 1992 fiscal year anywhere between $150,000 to $350,000. So instead of waiting for April to hear what the verdict would be, my staff and I got together and decided what kind of plan of operation should we have, because this meant cutting staff positions. And this was very, very tough to do. So we started creating a list with the bottom line being $350,000. Well, the first 3 positions were easy because they were faculty vacancies. The next two involved faculty who had planned to retire at the end of the academic year. But then we started getting into real people and their jobs. And we created the priority order for instructional assistants to work on a 9-month schedule rather than a 12-month schedule. We examined people who worked with business and industry, and the very last position was a full-time faculty member. By the end of October, I started talking with the individual faculty members who were being directly affected, and so were their supervisors. This was very difficult. In fact, many people broke down in tears, but we tried to lend emotional support as well as inform them that we would help them get a job, and we encouraged them to get additional training so that they would become more invaluable in the outside community. As an example, we had a physical education instructor. We encouraged her to get credentialed in health education, and the college would pay for that tuition during the spring and summer term. Well, she took us up on the offer and did this. And then when the end of April came and we found out that through creative financing, through creative structuring of positions, not one individual had to lose their position at our college. In fact, we even maintained our library budget of $210,000. Working with my peers as well as with my superior president in this particular case, we also met strategically at the deans and presidents level. Well, I had to bring in rationale as to why we created this type of leveling process from 1 to 13, and we had to have our facts together to show that how this would not weaken the institution as a whole. And as you know, during fiscal crises, the other deans want to save their areas and not lose people in their areas as well. So there had to be some hard negotiation at that level, but I felt very good in 3 aspects. 1, we worked with individuals and prepared them for the future well in advance. We did not wait to hear what the legislature was going to assign us. We were preparing our plan, and we were in control of the situation. And 3rd, it worked out well in the end. These individuals are still part of the college. They are not angry with the college. In fact, they've turned out to be better employees. As an example, this young lady who majored in health education came back so excited that she opened a wellness center. And right now she's working in the area of a common health program for our employees.
Thank you. And finally, Dr. Dolgin, can you sell us your current institution?
Well, Thomas Nelson Community College is located on a beautiful site in the Virginia Peninsula. We're 25 miles south of Williamsburg. We have about 12,000 students, and we service 5 school regions, 600 square thousand miles, and 450,000 residents. One of the nicest things about Thomas Nelson is the work ethic and the level of morale at our institution. But I believe that under my leadership, I've also developed the ABCs of learning that I've tried to stress with faculty and my staff. A is student access. One of the nicest things that has happened is that I've focused on recruiting minorities. We have a 30% minority population, and when I first arrived, we had 22%. This has grown over the 4 years to 27%. We have a fantastic faculty member who was able to get a grant from the higher education authorities. It's only $10,000, but what she does with those $10,000 is really tremendous. We have 20 students that we accept during the summer term. And during that summer term, they go through a process of an orientation banquet with their parents being here and meeting the president and the various deans. They enroll in 2 courses which stress study skills in orientation to the college. And then in the fall semester, they're enrolled for 12 credit hours, and we even provide transportation for them, one-to-one counseling, tuition, and books, and even cultural activities. Well, let me tell you that over the 7 years that this program's been in existence, there has been between a 90 to 100% retention rate. The second really stands for B, and that's building partnerships within the community. As I expressed earlier, not only do we believe in community college programming and community college-based partnerships, but we really have to work very closely with business and industry. Our faculty have to become acquainted with the needs of area businesses so that we can technologically train our students to become more competitive in the marketplace. Not only do we have to work with our students, but also try to encourage our area employers to incorporate total quality management workplaces. It's so important that they do that, because if they don't, well, they'll lose their businesses and we won't have an opportunity of placing our students. So with the help of the Chamber of Commerce and leading companies like Canon and NASA and Newport News Shipbuilding, they have created a scholarship fund and to encourage even government employees to participate in total quality management programs. We have 16-week programs as well as 2-day to 4-day programs. We offer a luncheon in which we explain what total quality management is, and it's free to the public. And from that, we get people who are enrolled. We've had groups of police officers, fire department employees, as well as hospital employees join these programs, and in many cases being subsidized by area employees. So we're creating the image and also supporting total quality management within our community. The third aspect really is, once again, dealing with community partnerships, as I expressed earlier. And we're building a pipeline within the community. It's not enough just to have an academic tech program from grades 9 through 12. What we're doing is, with the help of our Chamber of Commerce and leaders in the community, we're going into the 7th grade. Every 7th grader has an opportunity of meeting young people who are employed in engineering and science occupations. These people come from the same backgrounds as our students. And what they try to explain, if I can do it, so can you. And not only do they talk about or explain their own personal careers and how they got to getting that particular job, but also present very interesting science and math experiments to turn these students on. We follow this up with an 8th grade summer program in which we do team building, field trips, and take average ability students, hoping that they'll get turned on to math and science, and they move along together as a group in 9th grade high school. We don't know the success of this. It's in its 3rd year, but we're developing a tracking system and hope that these students will go on to college. It doesn't have to be just Thomas Nelson Community College, but any college. That to us is the most important goal. I'd like to share with you some of the publications that have gotten us interested and why we feel so strongly about building partnerships, both internally within our institution and externally. This is our academic tech brochure that we distribute within the schools to parents and students to tell them how important it is. The second brochure that we have deals with a Pay for Knowledge program at Siemens Automotive. Here's an example of members of our faculty turning a company around. As an example, they created a course dealing with communications, team playing, and statistical process control. Every employee must go through this program. Well, what has happened? Productivity has increased, salaries have increased, and earnings have increased. And that was why this particular program is mentioned in Fortune magazine. In closing, I'd like to invite each and every one of you to visit our college and to share with us some of the successes. We know that each college is very different and can provide different opportunities according to the needs of that community. But perhaps by visiting our college, you'll also share the enthusiasm that we have towards instruction and working with members of our community. Thank you.
And thank you, Dr. Dolgin, for sharing your thoughts on leadership with us this morning.